It's been more than 40 years since one of the most iconic finishes to any sporting match in history. Across the 27th and 28th of April 1985, Steve Davis and Dennis Taylor faced off in the final of the World Snooker Championship at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield. It has been a long, tense struggle, and a one black sits on the table, and the man who pots it will win £60,000. One of Davis or Taylor will end this thrilling battle as the champion of the world. Now, I must admit, I have watched very little snooker, but this is a great sporting story, so I do want to tell it on this anniversary. So please correct me, snooker fans, in the comments if there is anything major wrong here. Let's meet our two main characters. The first is England's Steve Davis. He was first introduced to snooker by his father at age 12. He turned pro in September 1978 and made his World Championship debut in 1979, winning 2 qualification matches and making the first round proper, before losing by a score of 13-11 to our other main character, Northern Ireland's Dennis Taylor. Taylor is 8 years older than Davis, and he turned pro in 1972. He made his World Championship debut in 1973 and lost 9-8 to Cliff Thorburn in the first round. Taylor made World Championship semi-finals in 1975 and 1977. He even made his first World Final in 1979, beating Davis along the way, where he was defeated by Terry Griffiths. During the 1979-80 season, Davis became world number 1, and Taylor reached a career-high ranking of world number 2, but it was Davis who dominated the 80s. After reaching the last 8 at the 1980 World Championship, Davis claimed his first UK championship with a dominant 16-6 final victory over Alex Higgins. Later that season, Davis would truly reach the summit by winning the world title. He was the bookies' favourite despite being the 13th seed. He became world champ with an 18-12 victory over Doug Mountjoy in the final. At the 1982 Lauder Classic, Davis became the first person to complete a maximum break in televised play. The 147 came against John Spencer, with sponsor Lauder awarding him a car for his efforts. Despite losing in the first round of his world title defence, Davis would win back-to-back world championships in 1983 and 1984. On his way to his third world title, he would beat Taylor 16-9 in the semi-final. Now, we do need to address one thing about Taylor. It's those glasses. What on earth? They were developed by player and commentator Jack Carnham, whose family's business was making glasses. Carnham made Taylor's glasses by hand, and the unique upside-down structure enabled him to look through the optical center of the lens regardless of his head position. He started wearing them in the spring of 1983, and unsurprisingly, it became his trademark. The 1984-85 season saw success for both Davis and Taylor. Davis won the first ranking event of the season at the International Open before Taylor picked up the second at the Grand Prix. It was an emotional moment for Taylor, as his mother had died of a heart attack at the start of the season, and he dedicated the victory to her. He seriously thought about quitting the game and even withdrew out of a quarter-final at the earlier International Open. The first Triple Crown event of the season is the UK Championship. This was the 8th edition of the tournament, and a historic one. It was the first time professionals outside the UK could participate, and the first to be granted in ranking status. Davis picked up the title for the third time with a 16-8 victory in the final over Higgins. In his part, Taylor was defeated 9-2 in the first round by Tommy Knowles.
A magnificent performance then by the world champion Steve Davis.
Number 2 seed Davis lost a classic 5-4 to Higgins, who avenged that UK Open final result, and Taylor lost 5-3 to Thorburn. For all his previous World Championship heartbreak and emotional times away from the sport, Davis was a man in form heading into the flagship event of 1985, as he won the Irish Championship with a 10-5 win over Higgins in a tournament just for Irish and Northern Irish players. The first round proper of the Worlds would begin the very day after the Irish Championship had finished. Davis went in as the number 1 seed, looking to win his 4th World Championship and 3rd in a row. Taylor would be the 11th seed. The 1985 World Snooker Championship began on the 12th of April as the last ranking event of the 1984-85 season. The first World Championship occurred in 1927. It has been held with a knockout format since 1969 and at the Crucible Theatre since 1977. The defending champion is Steve Davis, who defeated Jimmy White 18-16 in the 1984 final. It was the 3rd world title for Davis. 103 players from the World Snooker Tour participated, with the world's top 16 going straight through to the main draw, and the other 87 doing battle in a 5-round qualifying competition. The prize money was up £50,000 from the year before. Taylor won his first game comfortably against Silvino Francisco. He was up 8-1 at the end of the first session and won 10-2. Davis defeated Neil Foulds 10-8 in the first round. In the second round, Davis led David Taylor 3-0 and 6-3 before going on to win 13-4 with century breaks of 100 and 105. Taylor would meet a fellow former finalist in Eddie Charlton, with Taylor prevailing 13-11. Davis went behind early in his quarterfinal against Griffiths after losing the first 4 frames, but levelled the match 4-4 at the end of the first session. Davis won 6 of the 8 frames in the second session to lead 10-6. In the first frame of the third session, Griffiths committed a foul by touching a ball with his waistcoat, which allowed Davis to make a break of 80 to win the frame before going on to win the match 13-6. With Davis in his 4th World Championship semi-final, he would be joined by Taylor after a slow quarter-final where only 6 frames were played in the first session. After leading 4-2 and 10-5, Taylor would win 13-5. Davis put together a great performance in his semi to defeat former world champion Ray Reardon 16-5 in just 3 sessions. He completed a break of 103 in the 13th frame, which was the 100th century break at the Crucible. Taylor upset Tony Knowles with a 16-5 win despite losing the first 2 frames. So with that, we have our world finalists of Taylor and Davis, with Davis going in with a 9-1 advantage on the head-to-head record. The 1985 World Snooker Championship final began on the 27th of April. The opening session was a Davis masterclass. The favourite won all 7 frames of that first session. Despite a break of 50 from Taylor, Davis stormed back to win the opening frame. He also had breaks of 87, 55, 66 and 58 in the first session. The game was going as it should. Davis was the true champion who dominated this era of the sport. He was one of the most recognisable people in all of British sport and was the clear favourite here. An easy victory in the first frame of the second session, and it looked highly unlikely Taylor would have much of a sniff. It seemed more likely that Davis would win the World Championship by a score of 18-0. That classic finish to the long final really looked unlikely as Davis led 8-0 in the race to 18, but Taylor would get a frame in the bank, winning the 9th frame, something he was very relieved with, before going on to win the second session 7-2. This was highlighted by breaks of 61, 98, 70 and 56. At the end of the first day, Davis led 9-7. Taylor had spent almost the entire first session on that first day in a chair watching Davis go about his work, but when he got his chance in the second session, he took it with 2 hands. To rack up 7 frames on that first day meant we had a great final on our hands all of a sudden. The second day would see a very different match than what anyone would have expected when Davis led 8-0. The second day would see the match remain a close affair. When Taylor won the 22nd frame, the match was levelled at 11 frames all. It was the first time the match was tied since it began. Davis would win the next 2 frames and would lead 13-11 at the end of the third session. The pair would split the third session 4 frames each. The final session began with Davis 5 frames away from winning a 4th world title. A break of 86 would see him get within 4. The two alternated the next 4 frames of that last session, but Taylor needed more than that. Breaks of 70, 57 and 79 in consecutive frames saw the match all squared at 15 frames all. But 2 consecutive frames for Davis meant Taylor would need to win 3 frames on the trot to win the trophy. Taylor would level the match with a crucial break of 57 being enough to eventually see Davis concede. Both players briefly left the view of the cameras before returning. This would be the most nerve-wracking frame of either Davis or Taylor's career. The players shook hands at 11:15 p.m. on April the 28th. The 35th frame of the match would be a 68-minute slugfest littered with errors. The first 4 points went to Davis after Taylor played a safety shot that missed its intended red. Safety shots were common at the start of this frame, with each player looking to pounce on any errors. One came when Taylor accidentally potted the white, something he did twice in the frame. Davis looked rattled, which was an unusual sight. He missed what looked like a simple blue, showing nerves had really taken over, and completely missed the red by some distance, which gave Taylor an important 4 points. He did it again shortly after. It only just missed, but that meant Taylor led the frame by a full 20 points. After a series of more safety shots, it was Taylor's time to miss the red and gift his opponent 4 points. Afterwards, Davis did get amongst the balls, a break of 25 pushing him to the brink of glory, but ran out of position on the pink. Taylor missed the lot again, and with that, Davis was so close. This brilliant pot of the green means he was up 62-44, 18 points up with 22 points on the table. If he could pot one more, he would win. The frame became the longest of the final and would soon after become the longest of the championship, and at some point it passed midnight. This game was now remarkably in its third day. After both players missed chances to pot the brown, Taylor did so from almost the length of the table. He potted the blue and pink into the same pocket, which meant the equation was simple, and Taylor said his prayers.
The final frame, the final black. That really quite incredible as Dennis Taylor goes to the World Trophy and prays to it.
Taylor made it clear after the fact that he wasn't going to play a safety shot. He was going to risk it. His first attempt was to pot the black into the left middle pocket. Davis would come back to the table and played a good safety shot. Taylor tried to pot the ball into the bottom left pocket with a hope it might go into the top left pocket. It didn't go in either. Davis tried another safety shot, but the balls were left with a view of the top right pocket.
That was the biggest shot of his life.
At long last for Davis, he was in a good position to pot the black. All he had to do was a thin cut, and Davis has said ever since all he was thinking was to not hit it thick. Do not hit it thick. Well, he didn't.
No. This is really unbelievable.
The roar of the Crucible crowd tells you everything you need to know. This was surely it. Davis seemed to rush that last attempt a bit, but Taylor took his time. At 12:23 a.m. on the 29th of April, 1985, Davis stared down that black and that pocket.
He's done it. Dennis Taylor, for the first time, becomes Embassy World Snooker Champion 1985. He is so thrilled.
Taylor led the match for the first time with victory in the 35th and very last frame. He was the 1985 Snooker Champion of the World. Taylor's celebration of wagging his finger and waving the cue above his head in an instant became a very iconic sporting image. Like at the Grand Prix, Taylor would dedicate this tournament win to his late mother. The legacy of this match is best described in numbers. The final is the longest match ever held over the length of 35 frames, at 14 hours and 50 minutes. The concluding moments of the final were watched by a whopping 18.5 million viewers. That's a third of the country tuning in on BBC Two. Taylor, much like Davis, lost in the first round of the following year's World Championship. They are both among the many victims of the Crucible curse. the fact that no man who has won the World Championship for the first time has ever retained the title the following year since the event was moved to the Crucible Theatre in 1977. Davis lost the 1986 World Final 18-12 to another outsider, Joe Johnson, but won the event 3 more times in a row from 87 to 89. Despite being a 6-time world champion and the first man to achieve a televised 147, Davis is probably best remembered for this match. One he lost. There are probably bigger sporting chokes, but this was a painful one. If you watch the Emp Lemon video titled Art of the Choke, this probably ranks in the upset tier. The only thing that saves it from the nightmare is the fact that Davis would win 3 more world titles in addition to the 3 he already had. Taylor would never make another world final, but he did achieve 1 more Triple Crown title at the 1987 Masters. He retired in 2000. In 2010, 25 years on, Taylor and Davis reenacted the Black Ball final. The reenactment had to be delayed when the still active Davis, who qualified for his 30th and final World Championship that year, made the quarterfinals, which he lost to eventual champion Aussie Neil Robertson. The one-frame exhibition, well, it didn't go the same way as it did back in 1985.
Have a go at the double. So this is what I played.
He's done it again.
Held everything together, quite close together. And I played the slow, twitchy, in-the-face shot. And the black, I was very pleased to see, went nowhere along the line it's going now. And it ended up there.
And the white was here. And I remember coming to the table saying to myself, that's the greatest shot I've ever seen under pressure in my life. Or words to that effect. It was more like you jammy gingerhead. I tried to double the black into this pocket here. And I hit it hard enough. If it didn't go in there, I might fluke it in there.
You see what I was dealing with?
So this is what I played.
How many times do you want to win this thing? So, obviously, after missing the double, he was bound to leave me a shot. That's what I had. This was roughly the shot I played. But it didn't hit that cushion. It hit that cushion. Black went to there, black went over there, some sort of double kiss, and it always ended up with a white ball like that. Dennis didn't know exactly, because...
You bet I know where it was. That was the shot I was left with. So I had the first proper shot to win the World Championship and realise your ambition. And I'm thinking to myself, use all the years of experience. Keep your head still, don't lift your head. Push the cue in and out 4 or 5 times and you're world champion. And this was the shot I played after all those positive thoughts. I got down, keep your head still, push the cue in and out 4 or 5 times, and this is what happened.
There must be a magnet on this black.
But it didn't go in. It stayed on the table. And I thought, whatever you do, this is a very thin shot. Under pressure, whatever you do, don't hit it thick. That's how you bottle it. Don't hit it thick. 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 And I didn't. I hit it thin. Very thin. So thin that the white ball had a lot more speed on it.
And the black didn't go in.
The black, because I didn't win that year.
That last shot, it looks like it's on freeze frame because I took forever over playing the shot. And I got down without gripping the cue, let it go very loose, took ages on the shot, and missed the black.
Then I came to the table, got down, with all the years of experience. And put it over the middle pocket. Which is where Dennis finally potted it.
So this one I couldn't miss. You never seen this bit, did you? And I potted the black, and I went like that.
This shows what pressure does to you. Those shots were makeable. The whole thing lasted about 9 minutes, and it is a hilarious 9 minutes. In 2025, they reenacted the final once again, and even Davis can recognise the greatness of that match.
40 years on, you are friends, aren't you?
Yeah, I tell you what, we've had so much fun as a result of that storyline that, bizarrely, I don't think I'd change it, given the chance even.
Oh, come on.
No, in hindsight, not at the time, obviously, but I think now, like what it meant to a lot of people, not just within the game, but also how many people got hooked on snooker, how many people watched that and got excited by it. If I had my time again, and then knowing what it's like now, I quite, maybe I'm a masochist, but I quite think it's wonderful.
I guess when you have 6 world titles, it's okay to let the other guy have this one. It's hard to imagine this match being much better, except for one thing. It's the only world final without a single century break, which is insane. Despite this, the black ball final is stuff of sporting dreams. David versus Goliath, 2 popular, recognisable figures doing battle with a great comeback victory. It all came down to who could hold their nerve. For 14 and 3/4 hours, the best 2 snooker players on the planet per late April 1985 slugged away, and it all came down to who could pot the black ball one last time. The story gets lost in those iconic last 5 minutes. I hope you have a better understanding into the full detail of how the iconic moment came to be, how the World Snooker Championship was decided with the final frame, the final black.